Alright guys, I am sure you're excited to get started here, and I am too. We're going to be making one of these rainbow beaded and leather bracelets today. They're real simple to make up, and they make up real quickly too, so I'm going to just jump right in. I've done a little bit of pre-cutting here. I've cut 2 strands of 2mm leather to 8 inches a piece here. That'll just save in the video. You guys don't need to see me measuring and cutting. And we're going to be making, I'm going to show you how to make these little beaded connectors. There's a little bit of wire wrapping involved, but it's very basic. If it's your first time wire wrapping, you might want to practice a couple of times. I've got a couple of extra connectors over here, but wire wrapping is probably not as hard as you think. My supplies today, we've got some stone beads that are 6x4mm. These are rondelle beads, which just means that they're skinnier than they are fat. I'm going to use rainbow colors. I was kind of debating whether to use these red and blue scheme, but I kind of like the rainbow a little bit better. What we're going to aim for is a connector just over 1 inch long, which is a good size for the wrist. You never really want to go over 2 inches because most wrists are only about 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide across the top. So you want to stick with that. We've got 18 gauge wire. This is silver plated copper wire. That's what I use for a lot of my jewelry stuff. I like the price point, and I just like how it is to work with. We've got round nose pliers, wire cutters. I am using super glue glue, but you can use any kind of jewelry glue if you have a preference, something that you like instead. And we're also going to use these small hook and eye glue-on end clasps. So, just to get started here, I'm going to cut off a little length of wire. You need at least 3 inches here, but I do find that it's easier to work with the more excess that you have. So I'm just going to cut off here, probably about, gosh, I think I got quite a bit extra, but I'm starting with about 6 inches or so here. You can really cut that down to about, I would say try to just do 4 inches. But you've got your round nose pliers here. You just want to place the wire about the middle of your round nose pliers. I like to give it a twist to the side just so that it's got a bend, and then wrap that around the round part of your pliers, and you're making a loop here. When you get back to where the wires intersect, you just want to wrap that tail end around. Just I usually do 2 times. You can do 3. Just right with your fingers like that. If you've got it too short, you might need an extra pair of pliers to pull it around. But then you take your wire cutters and just nip that right off. Now I do have my regular pliers at the ready here, just to get that edge. Want to make sure that doesn't stick out too badly. Next, you add your beads. Now these are a dyed howlite bead, and that is, with these darker beads, every once in a while they can be kind of hard to feed through just because they dip dye the whole strand, and sometimes that dye will still be in the holes. If that happens, you can just use a bead reamer to clear it out, but if you ever find that there's a little bit of a blockage there, that's not that big. I mean, it's pretty common with howlite. So, but howlite is easy to dye, so you'll find it in a lot of really pretty colors, like what we've got today. All of the colors of the rainbow, in fact. So once you've got those threaded on there, this is going to be about 24mm in length, which is about 1 inch. So that's what I was aiming for. So I wouldn't go more than 6 beads. You can always go less. That looks nice too. But we're going to do the same thing on this end. I've just bent it just slightly off to the side. Going to wrap it around, and then just wrap it around until it meets those beads. See, simple as that. And then nip off that excess. Didn't quite get them. I'm used to doing it for myself, not for the camera. Alright, so now you've got your connector. And similar to this one, what we're going to do now is just tie the leather on the edges. Now I pre-cut these to 4 inches, which is going to be longer than what you need, but you want to leave a little bit of excess in case you don't get it exactly straight, because we're going to be cutting off these ends to an even length. So you just loop it through the loop that you made here, and you tie it in an overhand knot. That's just a regular knot. Tuck those tail ends through, and The hardest part of this whole thing is going to be getting these tight. It's not really that difficult, but you want to pull on the ends. If you pull on them individually, that will help you tighten it up a little bit better. Now, and I would say too, just use your hands when you do it. If you try to use your pliers or anything, you risk breaking the leather if you're using real leather. You can also, if you're against using real leather, that's fine too. You can use imitation leather, but I would choose a 2mm size for this. So, same thing here, just looping it through, keeping that knot close to the connector. Tighten these up. And then what we're going to do is trim this length back down. I don't know if you've noticed that I've got my bead board out here. I don't usually get out my bead board just for beads. I like it mostly for measuring because it's real easy to center your work. These end clasps that I'm using, I can't seem to say that. These add about 3/4 of an inch in length to your final bracelet. So the best thing to do is you just lay this right in the center, right at the 0 here. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut these off to this 3.5 mark so that this is 7 inches long. I'm actually going to do, my wrist tends to be a little bit shorter. I'm actually going to go just slightly shorter than that. I'm going to do 3.25 here on each side. I want to center that. I've got 3.25. I'm going to come over here to 3.25. Take a look there. So now I've got a length of bracelet that is 6.5 inches long. That's what fits my wrist. If your wrist tends to be a little bit bigger, you can always go bigger. Once you glue on these end clasps, you're not going to be able to change the size. So you want to make sure that you get it right the first time. And like I said, this does add an extra 3/4 of an inch of length. So I'm going to end up with a bracelet that is 7.25 inches. A lot of times if you aim for 7.5, that's pretty standard for most people. So this, pretty simple here. Just add, I just do like 2 drops of glue into the little cap here, and then you can just tuck this right inside. This is why I wanted to cut those ends off even, because we're going to glue both of those in here. You only have to hold it just for a minute because this stuff dries pretty quickly. It's not going to be fully dry for about 10 minutes, but it'll grip right away when you're doing the metal against leather like that. So just want to feed this one in here as well. And then you're going to be setting it aside to dry. But what you'll end up with is another one of these bracelets. So it's a real simple design, real simple to do. There are other ways to finish off the ends as well, but I just like doing the glue-on caps because they are super easy and super fast. And that is that. So thanks for joining me for today, guys.